There is a silent, almost invisible curse that follows every great success story. It's the shadow that falls across the most expensive mansion, the hum beneath the roar of a luxury engine, and the gnawing feeling in the gut of someone who has achieved everything they were told to want. This curse is the disconnect between accumulation and actual contentment. We live in a world obsessed with the first half of the financial equation: how to get rich. We have shelves groaning under the weight of books on investing, saving, compounding, and the endless pursuit of more. We are taught from the moment we first earn $1 that the game is about growing the pile. We master the spreadsheets, we memorize the formulas, and we strive for the maximum return on investment. But what happens when the pile is built? What do you do with a great fortune, the vast flexibility, and the towering wealth you've spent a lifetime constructing? Most of us, even the most financially brilliant among us, simply have no idea. We treat money like a relentless taskmaster whose only purpose is to grow, forgetting that money, at its core, is nothing more than a tool. And if you never learn to wield the tool in a why that serves your soul, then the tool will inevitably begin to use you. This is the great, overlooked art of human life, the art of spending money. It's not about finding the best deals or cutting coupons. It's about mastering the chaotic, messy, and deeply emotional relationship between your money and your mind. It's the crucial second half of the journey, often ignored, yet it is the only half that determines if you end up wealthy and happy, or merely wealthy and trapped. We are all striving for a richer life, but we often confuse a rich life with a life full of rich things. The difference is subtle, yet seismic. One is about what you own, the other is about how you feel and how you live. Think for a moment about the greatest return on investment you could possibly achieve. Is it a 15% annual return in the stock market? Is it doubling your principal? Housel argues, and I believe, that the most valuable return on any dollar you own is not peace of mind, but peace from mind. It is the quiet confidence that you have sovereignty over your own time. This control over time is the ultimate luxury that money can buy. It is the ability to wake up on a Tuesday and decide, simply because you want to, how your day will unfold. It is the freedom to say no to a miserable boss, yes to an unexpected trip, or to simply take a long, unhurried walk without the frantic, clawing anxiety of financial need. Every single dollar you save, every bit of financial restraint you exercise, isn't really saving for a bigger number in a bank account. You are purchasing tiny, invisible shares of future autonomy. You are not building wealth. You are building an independence fund. This fund has a power that transcends all material possessions. A brand new sports car is impressive, yes, but it immediately begins to depreciate, and it requires maintenance, insurance, and the stress of protecting it. It's an asset that demands constant attention. Your independence fund, however, is a psychological shield. It's the ability to shrug off a job loss, to endure a sudden medical expense without catastrophe, and to choose the timing of your life's biggest decisions. It is the deep, quiet knowledge that no one owns your time but you. This is the highest dividend money can pay. But here's where the human element complicates everything. And here's where everything begins to shift. If the goal is simply freedom and peace, why do we continue to chase things that actually reduce our freedom and shatter our peace? Why do people who earn multi-million-dollar salaries still find themselves constantly stressed, overworked, and worried about money? The answer lies in the deeply psychological pitfall of status spending. We are social creatures, wired for comparison. We look around, and we don't just see possessions, we see signals. A neighbor's new, beautiful home is not just a structure of brick and wood. It is a declaration of success, a whispered challenge, a silent question about our own worth. This drives us into the trap of spending money to impress others. We confuse admiration with envy. We think that by acquiring the visible signs of wealth, the oversized house, designer clothes, the exotic holidays, we will gain the admiration of our peers. But this is one of the most brutal ironies of the human condition. The things you buy to make others admire, you often only succeed in making them envious. And envy is a corrosive emotion. It doesn't lead to connection. It leads to distance. The very items you purchase to feel included end up isolating you because they shift the focus from who you are to what you own. Housel urges us to conduct the deserted island test. Imagine you are about to make a major purchase, a luxurious watch, a massive house upgrade, or a flashy car. Now, ask yourself, would I still want this if I were the last person on earth? If no one else could ever see it, know about it, or comment on it? If the answer is no, then you are not buying a utility. You are buying a performance. You are exchanging your precious, hard-earned money, your shares of future time and freedom, for a momentary hit of social validation. And that validation is fleeting, like smoke. It disappears the second the next new status symbol arrives. The truth is, many people who look rich are simply running on a hedonic treadmill powered by insecurity. They are using their wealth as a costume to mask a deep internal fear of not being good enough. They have mistaken comfort for excess and utility for status. Imagine two people buying cars. One buys a dependable, safe, and comfortable vehicle because it reliably gets them to their loved ones and allows them to carry the equipment for their beloved hobby. This is utility spending. It aligns with their values, safety, relationships, hobbies. The purchase price buys them a quiet sense of assurance. The second person buys a car that stretches their budget, forcing them into longer work hours and deeper debt. They buy it because it has a badge that communicates a specific income level to their colleagues. This is status spending. The purchase price buys them a fleeting thrill, followed by a quiet sense of financial stress, because they've essentially purchased an expense, not an asset. The truly rich life is built on maximizing utility, not maximizing social signaling. It's about spending money on the things that fundamentally improve your day-to-day existence and that deepen your connections with the people and activities you cherish. This is about cultivating what Housel calls the humble bubble. It's the radical idea of building a life where your spending habits are invisible to the outside world and irrelevant to your peers. It is the act of consciously stepping off the social treadmill and choosing to live below your means, not as an act of deprivation, but as an act of profound self-love. When you stop playing the status game, you regain an immense amount of psychological energy. You no longer have to worry about the next promotion, the next upgrade, or the next judgmental look. You become the sole arbiter of your own contentment. But escaping the humble bubble is difficult because the pressure to conform is intense. It comes from the insidious force of social debt. Social debt is a concept more toxic to true contentment than any credit card balance. It is the unspoken feeling that you owe it to the people around you, your family, your friends, your community, your past self, to live a life that conforms to a certain expectation of success. It's the impulse to buy a home that is slightly too big for your needs, simply because that's what people in your position do. It's the constant urge to keep pace with the rising tide of consumption, where the baseline of normal comfort keeps moving further and further away, often out of reach. This debt is paid not in interest, but in anxiety, time, and compromised values. We fall into this trap because our minds are wired to use relative data. Our brain doesn't just ask, "Am I comfortable?" It asks, "Am I comfortable compared to them?" This comparison is the single greatest thief of joy, and it's the primary engine of bad spending decisions. Housel brilliantly illustrates this by pointing out that every time we see someone flaunting their wealth, a new yacht, a private jet, a headline grabbing purchase, we rarely stop to consider the true cost of that lifestyle, not just financially, but emotionally and logistically. We see the high point, the Instagram photo of the exotic vacation, but we don't see the thousands of hours of grinding, the compromises on health and relationships, or the sheer stress required to maintain that highly visible, high-consumption life. We only see the finish line, never the brutal, lonely marathon that preceded it, or the treadmill that follows. The person who buys the spectacular vacation home is often the one forced to work weekends to pay for it, meaning they spend the very limited time they have away from that home working to sustain it. They are in debt to their own image. This leads us to a crucial realization. The most valuable possessions are not the things that impress others, but the things that are invisible and internal. The quiet power of a zero-debt balance. The tranquility of having enough savings to weather a storm. The deep satisfaction of owning your morning routine. These are the assets that pay psychological dividends, and they are invisible to the neighbor, the colleague, and the social media feed. They are yours alone. This is the shift from external validation to internal accounting. Instead of asking, "What does this purchase say about me?" Housel urges us to ask, "How does this purchase change my day-to-day life, and how does it make me feel?" Consider the spending category of health and well-being. Most people begrudge spending money on high-quality food, a good gym membership, or therapy. They see these things as expenses that detract from their ability to buy visible status symbols. But what if you reframed them as investments that yield the highest possible return? $1 spent on preventive health today is $1 invested in avoiding catastrophic medical debt and suffering later. It's an investment in energy, resilience, and clarity of thought. The person who prioritizes their well-being is effectively buying years of higher quality life and better cognitive function, assets that $1 million sports car can never provide. Similarly, there's the investment in education and experiences. The world constantly tries to sell us durable goods, things that you can hold, store, and display. But durable goods quickly lose their novelty. That new gadget or piece of furniture gives you a spike of happiness on day 1, but by day 30, it has simply become furniture. Experiences, however, deepen over time. A family trip, a shared adventure, or learning a new skill creates memory dividends. These memories do not depreciate. They actually compound in value as time passes, especially when they are shared. They become the bedrock of identity and connection. You cannot lose them, and no one can take them from you. They are immune to the envy trap. Spending money on an educational course, a skill workshop, or a mentor isn't just a transaction. It's an investment in optionality. It increases your future earning potential, yes, but more importantly, It expands the landscape of your life's possibilities. It makes you a more interesting person to yourself and to others. The art of spending money is fundamentally about aligning your outflow with your unique personal values. Morgan Housel's insight here is crucial because we are all different. There is no universal template for good spending. What constitutes a waste for one person might be a profound investment in happiness for another. For example, a person who deeply values travel and exploration should absolutely prioritize spending a large percentage of their income on flights, hostels, and cultural immersion. Their friends might judge them for living in a smaller apartment or driving an older car. But that judgment is irrelevant because the traveler is maximizing their own internal value system. They are getting an exponential return on their spending, which their non-traveling luxury car-driving friend can't see. The financial tragedy is when we spend money on the things that align with someone else, values, or even worse, with the values of a person we aspire to be, but aren't yet. We often try to buy our way into an identity. We spend on the expensive hobby equipment before we've dedicated the time to master the hobby. We buy the perfect wardrobe for the job we hope to get. This kind of aspirational spending is often rooted in impatience and leads to a closet full of clothes we don't wear and a garage full of gear we don't use. It's paying a premium for a future identity that never arrives. The wiser approach is to spend money to support the person you already are and the genuine interests you already possess. If you love reading, buy more books and subscribe to more journals. If you love cooking, invest in high-quality ingredients and tools. This spending is instantly gratifying because it flows naturally from your established identity. As the story unfolds, we must confront the darkest side of our consumption habits, the constant, ravenous desire for more. We are victims of the hedonic treadmill, a psychological phenomenon that ensures that no matter how much we buy or how rich we become, our baseline level of happiness quickly readjusts. That glorious, expensive purchase, the one that filled you with excitement and anticipation, becomes the new normal surprisingly fast. You buy a bigger house, and within 6 months, the size of that house is simply your new normal. Now your mind starts looking for the next thing. The upgraded garden, the better furniture, the more exclusive neighborhood. The feeling of success is ephemeral. The increased cost of living is permanent. This is the great self-inflicted wound of modern finance. We tie our financial freedom to a level of spending that must constantly escalate. We become like the person trying to run up a down escalator. We have to run faster and faster, earn more, work more, stress more, just to stay in the same psychological spot of contentment. The only way off this treadmill is to deliberately and consciously define enough. This is perhaps Housel's most profound contribution. to the conversation about wealth. Enough is not a number set by a financial planner or dictated by your neighbor's income. It is a deeply personal, philosophical conviction. It is the moment you draw a line in the sand and declare, I have what I need to live a fulfilling life that aligns with my values, and I will not risk what I have for what I do not need. It is the freedom found not in increasing your income, but in decreasing your dependence on increasing your income. It's a choice to stop playing the game of relative competition and start playing the game of absolute satisfaction. And here's where everything begins to shift, moving us from merely avoiding bad spending to actively creating a financial life that truly serves the soul. Defining enough is the armor against the relentless, corrosive force of greed. Greed is often mischaracterized as simply wanting money, but true greed, as Housel defines it, the willingness to risk something you have and need for something you don't have and don't need. When you have failed to define enough, you are perpetually vulnerable to making the single worst financial decision of your life, betting everything on an unnecessary variable. The entrepreneur who risks his entire family fortune for a small, incremental gain. The investor who over-leverages their portfolio after years of steady success. They do this not because they are rational, but because they have no psychological stop sign. They have replaced contentment with an infinite horizon of aspiration. The wise art of spending begins with a philosophy of preservation. If you have already established a lifestyle that grants you control over your time, security against the unpredictable future, and the ability to spend on your core values, then the primary job of your money shifts from growth to protection. You are now playing a defensive game. You are protecting your current happiness from your future ambition. This preservation mindset is the ultimate form of spending discipline, because it forces you to spend your time and energy not on acquiring new things, but on safeguarding the deeply valuable things you already possess, your freedom, your relationships, your health. But how do we practically allocate money in this preservation mindset? Housel suggests focusing on what we might call the soft infrastructure of life. We often spend money on the hard infrastructure, the house, the car, the investment portfolio. But the soft infrastructure is the money spent to reduce friction and maximize emotional ease. Think about the daily tasks that drain your mental energy: running errands, tedious chores, complicated logistics. If you have the financial means, spending money to outsource these energy drains is one of the highest value uses of your wealth. Hiring someone to clean your house, paying a premium for grocery delivery, or purchasing high-quality appliances that simply work without hassle. These expenditures are not signs of laziness. They are investments in attention. You are buying back the hours and mental bandwidth that would otherwise be consumed by drudgery, freeing Up your mind to focus on creative work, meaningful connections, or simple, restorative rest. The person who buys the expensive cleaning service is not just buying clean house. They are buying 2 hours of free, guilt-free weekend time. They are spending money to align their life with their highest priority, autonomy and quality time. This is a profound, transformative expenditure that changes the very texture of their daily existence, unlike a new piece of jewelry, which only changes the texture of their outfit. This leads to the revolutionary idea of spending money to manage your flaws. We all have areas of weakness. Perhaps you are chronically disorganized, terrible at tracking bills, or prone to late-night impulse shopping. Instead of trying to fix these flaws through sheer willpower, which almost always fails, the wealthy, wise spender uses money as a tool to engineer around them. If you are disorganized, you spend money on professional organization, systems, virtual assistants, or financial automation software. If you are prone to impulse shopping, you might choose to live further away from retail hubs or use automation to divert a certain percentage of every paycheck directly into an untouchable savings account. Money in this context is a compensating mechanism. It is the acknowledgement that human effort is finite and flawed. You are spending dollars to save effort, and that saved effort is then available for the pursuits that truly define your purpose. It is a pragmatic, non-judgmental use of wealth. As we examine the true purpose of wealth, we must recognize that money is not just a personal tool. It is a connector, a medium for shared experience. The most potent and deeply rewarding spending is often on others. This isn't just about charity or gifts. It's about using money to amplify the quality of your relationships. Think about the difference between a solitary luxury purchase and a shared memory. Buying a top-tier home entertainment system is a nice experience, but it's still essentially individual. Paying for the plane tickets to bring a scattered family together for a week is an investment in shared history, in bonding, in non-replicable time. Housel emphasizes that relationships are built on shared experiences and vulnerability, not on financial transactions. But money can be the catalyst for those experiences. It can bridge the geographical distance, remove the logistical barriers, and provide the setting for deep connection. The dollar spent on a spontaneous, shared meal with friends pays dividends in laughter and psychological nourishment, far exceeding its monetary cost. This is the art of using money to purchase human capital. The person who buys an extravagant gift for a loved one isn't just buying the object, are investing in the feeling the gift evokes, the story it tells, and the memory it creates. That investment comes back multiplied in the form of deeper trust and enduring affection. However, even in giving, the principle of authenticity must remain paramount. Gifting should align with the recipient's true needs and values, not with the giver's desire to look generous or wealthy. A thoughtful, handwritten note, accompanied by a small, meaningful item, will always create more value than an expensive, impersonal status item chosen simply to communicate financial ability. This philosophical shift from personal hoarding to collective well-being is the ultimate maturation of the financial mindset. It's the realization that true security comes not from the size of your vault, but from the strength of your village. But what happens next changes everything, because even if you master the philosophy of spending, you must still contend with the brute force of the future's uncertainty. The greatest threat to a well-spent life is not usually a lavish purchase or a momentary lapse in discipline. It is the sudden, catastrophic, and completely unpredictable event demolishes the financial bedrock you spent decades constructing. It is the inevitable appearance of a tail event, the low probability, high-impact occurrence that defines risk in the real world. The wise spender understands that part of the art of spending is the art of not spending, specifically not spending the money reserved for the unexpected. This isn't just about an emergency fund. It's about building a margin of safety that is so psychologically comforting, it acts as a permanent shield against panic. Housel urges us to view this buffer not as dormant capital, but as the most active and valuable purchase we have ever made. You are purchasing non-catastrophic failure. You are buying the ability to be wrong, to make mistakes, to absorb a financial hit, and still stand upright. This margin of safety is what protects your most precious assets, your time and your sanity. Without it, every unforeseen bill, every slight downturn in the market, or every minor health scare becomes a trigger for anxiety that consumes your focus and degrades your quality of life. The greatest cost of an unexpected expense is rarely the dollar amount itself. It is the mental tax that fear levies on your spirit. This leads us to the final, transcendent layer of the art of spending, the creation of legacy and meaning. Once you have mastered your time, aligned your spending with your values, defined your enough, and secured your future with a margin of safety, the remaining task is to use your wealth to create enduring meaning that extends beyond your own lifespan. True legacy is not built by erecting a statue of yourself. It is built by investing in the things that will continue to pay dividends of freedom and betterment long after you are gone. This means spending money on causes, mentorship, and opportunities for others that you genuinely believe in. This kind of spending is fundamentally different from a transactional purchase. It is an act of propagation. You are spending money to propagate your deepest values into the future. If you value education, you fund scholarships. If you value ecological preservation, you support conservation efforts. The beauty here is that this kind of external, meaningful spending is often the most internally rewarding. The human brain is wired for altruism. The happiness derived from giving is often deeper, more sustained, and less prone to the hedonic treadmill than the happiness derived from consumption. When you spend money to help others, you are fundamentally investing in your own sense of purpose. But the most profound legacy you can leave is not the financial one. It is the legacy of contentment. Housel's final message whispers across the years. The ultimate mastery of money is teaching your children and those you mentor how to be truly happy with less than they could potentially afford. It is demonstrating through your own actions that the measure of a life is not the size of the estate, but the quality of the journey, the depth of the relationships, and the quiet, fierce independence you carved out for yourself. It is modeling the radical self-respect required to say, "I have enough." The vast majority of financial advice aims at the accumulation of wealth, but wealth in its final form is only a potentiality. It's a field of energy waiting to be transformed. The true genius lies in its transformation. The art of spending money is the wisdom to transform financial potential into actualized life. It is the alchemy of turning cold numbers on a spreadsheet into warm, enduring memories. It is the realization that money is meant to be a servant, never a master. If you can use money to buy back your time, to deepen your bonds, to manage your anxieties, and to propagate your values, then you have successfully completed the financial journey. You have stopped chasing the infinite, and you have finally embraced the perfect symmetry of enough. So, look at your balance sheet not as a scorecard of success, but as a map of possibility. Are you spending your money to buy fleeting status? Or are you investing it in the quiet, powerful freedom of knowing you control your own hours? Are you building a prison of expectation? Or are you building an independence fund? The richest life is not the one with the highest income. It is the life where the money you earn is in perfect harmony with the values you cherish. It is the life where you spend not to impress, but to sustain, to secure, and to savor. This is the art. This is the truth. And this, perhaps, is the only financial ambition truly worth pursuing. A fulfilled life is the final, greatest dividend.